Welcome back to Between You and Me. I'm Star, as you know, and today we are talking about something a little bit more serious, but I'm excited to get into it with my next guest. You may know or you may not know that in Hawaii right now, we're kind of in a little bit of a crisis in many different ways, but the one we're going to be talking about today has put about 5,000 people out of work, and I'm talking about our entertainment industry here, film and TV. It's been 25 years since we've had this much of a lull where we have had no production here. And you may know, you may not know that that's something that I love. I've always wanted to produce and write TV and film. And so it's something very close to my heart. And my mom was a makeup artist for television and film here. So I was raised in it. I believe in it. And I also find it to be a pillar of representation, but also something that can revive our economy here in Hawaii. We're very dependent on tourism, but the invigoration of film industry here has the power to diversify what our economy is dependent on. And it's something that is really important. And we're in crisis right now because we are not having productions come here for a plethora of reasons that we will get into today. But I just want to read you some stats before I dive into introducing my guests, who I'm very excited to have. Just to give you some backstory, we just had Rescue High Surf was the last show that was here, and it just got canceled, which is very devastating. But it had one of the lower budgets per episode than shows we've seen here in the past, like NCIS, Magnum. I'm not sure if they had a bigger budget, but Lost, things like that, Hawaii Five-0. And just to give you some idea, it was a smaller show and smaller budget, but it gave 788 jobs consistently. Over $33 million was put towards local vendors or given to local vendors, and over $31 million in local wages. And a fun little fact too, the average job on set is double the average income of Hawaii. So this is something that's not only pouring money in massive ways into our local economy, but it's actually giving local people the power to jump the ladder and be able to afford to live here in Hawaii, which is something that we're also facing. We've had a massive exodus of local and Hawaiian people having to leave this land because we can't afford it. And this industry is something that can pull us out of that in a really big way. So we've got just under 5,000 skilled workers who don't have jobs, and we want to change that. So today, I have a gentleman who's worked in this industry for over 18 years. Like me, his dad, it was my mom, but his dad has worked in the industry as well, and has been very involved. And he's recently evolved as a voice for this industry. He hosts his own podcast called The Big Picture. And I am so excited to get into it and just introduce my guest, Brian Wallace.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
What's up, brother?
What's up? Yeah, when you called me, I was like, why is she asking me to be on her podcast? But like you said, it's kind of like, it's weird how maybe I've emerged as somewhat the face or, like the one giving information.
Yeah.
And I'm actually was just trying to get information.
Yeah.
And as I got information, I was like, it would be good for everyone to hear this,
Yeah.
And so that was kind of like the idea behind the Big Picture Hawaii podcast. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of how it all started for you, getting involved in industry, like about your dad, and just kind of how you found a love for it.
Yeah. So my dad, Dave Wallace, he just retired last year.
Ow.
Yeah. He moved to Thailand and he's living his best life.
The dream.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you. But yeah, no, I started off and, we kind of was talking, and my dad was like your mom. Like, he never wanted me to get in the industry, right? And he was a single dad, raised me and my brother, and we grew up in Kali. And I grew up Palama Settlement. I don't know if you know where that is. But I played sports there. My dad kept me very busy, but it was really hard for him working in the industry and managing us, So I ended up kind of getting in with a Hanai family who kind of took care of me a lot of times when he was at work. I don't know if you relate. Was your mom always busy kind of doing
it? When she was on set, Like I had nannies. It was anybody who could take care because it's 14-hour days. You
Yeah.
know, she can't take me to school. She can't come home in
Exactly.
time for dinner.
Yeah.
But it put the food on the table.
Right.
And you got to do it. She was a single mom too.
Yeah. So it was really hard for him. And it was a dad and his two boys, and it was wild. Like, and he would take us to work all the time, right? And I would have to go to work with him, and so I kind of literally grew up on set, probably like you,
Yeah,
right?
in
Like,
the corner, in the chair,
it,
right? Don't talk to anybody. I'll bring you
it,
snacks from Crafty. Don't move.
go to craft service and be quiet.
Yeah.
And so like even now, like I work with all my uncles and aunties,
Hmm.
like they seen me, like I grew up
Same, yeah.
with guys like Jimmy Thurston who knew me since I was born.
Yeah, that's my cousin.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I never put it together, but
Yeah, yeah.
I love Jimmy, like
Yeah.
Jimmy
He lives down the
Thurston.
street from me too.
He's a legend.
Yeah.
Like everybody shout out Jimmy. I love him. Um, and he brings the best vibe, like,
Hmm.
kind of like you. And your mom was wonderful. And
Hmm.
she always, I see a lot of you, her in you,
Hmm.
and just someone everybody always wants to be around, talk story with, get vulnerable with,
Hmm.
and when you have people in your makeup chair, your hair and makeup chair,
Yeah.
people tend to talk, it's
Hmm.
kind of like therapy. And she was just that type of approachable person, so
Hmm.
much love to her. And so just growing up on set, it kind of just gets it's a different type of people that work on set.
Hmm.
You got to be kind of little bit crazy to
Hmm.
work 14 hours, 16 hours sometimes. And to be honest with you, a lot of families don't work out because of that fact.
Yeah.
And I talk a lot of positivity about our industry, but this industry is hard, and it's hard for a reason. And people only stay in it because they're passionate about it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? If you're not passionate about it, you start to look around like, oh, these people are off.
Mm.
But if you're into it, you're like, this is my people. And I was like that.
Hmm. That's something that I love and I want to hear more too, because as soon as I started working on set, it was like something clicked inside of me. And like you, my mom was like, I didn't bust my ass so
Yeah,
that you could go to private school and college
yeah,
just to do the same thing that I do
yeah,
and have such an unpredictable job, right? She wanted me to just have consistency because that's really the one thing you really lack
yeah,
in film: high
yeah,
highs, low lows financially, when there's work, when there's not work. But when I got on set, it was like something clicked
yeah,
and no job was too small. I
yeah,
was happy being there, picking up trash,
yeah.
or wanting to write and be the
Hmm.
producer on the set because it's like you're contributing and you're making something, and so much sweeter to make it here in Hawaii in our home. But talk to me a little bit about diving into like being a grip and how
Yeah,
that feels like you're contributing, because I don't
yeah,
think a lot of people understand what that means.
yeah, yeah. So it's the hardest thing when people go, "Oh, what are you doing?" And you're, "Oh, I'm a grip," and they're like, "What?
What is
What's a
that?
grip?" You know what I mean? So we do. Grip would kind of do. Let me see how I could put it so you would understand. We do
Oh,
lighting.
I'm not as dumb as I look.
Yeah,
Nah, nah,
we
nah.
do we do lighting, camera assisting. So we do a lot of camera rigs, right? So if a camera needs to get on a car rig where we're doing driving
Hmm.
shots, or if a camera needs to be put on a crane where we're doing high crane shots,
Hmm.
or anything like that, we kind of do dynamic camera motion stuff. And then electricians, they'll come, they'll bring the lights, they'll power up the lights, and then we'll shape the light. So
Hmm.
we add depth to the picture through lighting. So really, to be honest with you, we're laborers, right?
Hmm.
We're the guys carrying all the sandbags, all the equipment. But the reason why I love gripping, because there's kind of levels to it, right?
Hmm.
So when I first came along, I was like, bro, I'm the man. I got gripping down. I got sandbags on every stand, like
Hmm.
nobody getting hurt. We're head of safety on set,
Hmm.
right? So we're kind of the last line of what's safe. We're doing overhead rigs, right? We got lights over us. Is that going to fall down on talent, $1 million talent,
Yeah.
right? So we're very cautious of the wind, the elements.
Hmm.
We're kind of all around guys. We're one of the departments that serve all the other
Hmm.
departments, right? So anybody needs assistance in anything, we're kind of there to help
Hmm.
them out. So yeah, that's kind of what a grip is.
I've seen the most impressive things done by grips on set, like, rigging the camera. I
Yeah,
see people like it's like MacGyver builds like
that's
all
it.
these steps all in 10 minutes. You're like,
Yeah,
where did you even get four like plywood things?
yeah.
Like where did this come
That's
from?
our grip truck. We got everything,
Everything.
and that's the nature of the film business, right? That's why we get paid
Hmm.
pretty good, is because when someone asks for it,
Hmm.
you can't really say no. You have to be ready for it. So
Yeah.
we roll around in big 40-ton,
Hmm.
20-ton, 10-ton trucks with just everything in it,
Hmm.
and we can. If the camera needs to get across this river, that's
Hmm.
the grips that are going to build the bridge to
Yeah.
get over it.
Literally building bridges.
That's it. Yeah.
Um, Now you talk a little bit more about we can make a lot of money in this
Yeah.
industry, but there's definitely takeaways. To someone listening who's like, I love film, I want to be involved, and it seems like best case scenario, you make double average income in Hawaii.
Yeah.
But what are some of those things that you sacrifice? Because you mentioned it, like the days, the
Yeah.
hours.
Totally. Yeah. And just like you were saying, like growing up, I actually would always look at my dad and be like, I would never do that. That's wild. Like, um, some months we have health insurance and some months we don't.
Yeah.
Like, how come my friends' parents always have insurance?
Hmm.
And they work a 9 to 5 for 30 years, 35 years and retire and our structure is just not like that. And I always told my dad I would be mad at some points, like I would never do that job. And he never wanted me to do it. He sent me to Iolani and
Boo. No, sorry.
I know. It's okay. Uh, he sent me to Iolani not to be a grip.
Hmm.
But after a couple of years at UH, I was like, you know what? I'm kind of wasting my time here. I can't see myself sitting in the office, right?
Hmm.
Like every major that I was thinking about doing, it kind of ended up in an office for me. And I was like, I can't do that. So I took a year off. I joined IATSE, Local 665, the union, and I started working. And same like you, as soon as I got on set, I was like, bro, this is my people.
Hmm.
Mind you, I grew up with them. It's kind of my uncle. Everybody was familiar,
Yeah.
but I like the work pace, right? It's physical. Like I'm sweating. I'm outside. We're at beaches. We're in jungles. We're in the city. Like
Hmm.
we're out there. And so that's a great pace for me. I like it feels healthy. You know,
Hmm.
circling back around to the question that you asked, it is long hours, and sleep is always off when you're working in the film industry. And yes, money is good, but like you said, it's very inconsistent. Like a guy like me, I was very lucky to get in on a show like Lost,
Hmm.
right? So it's episodic, so it's seasonal, so we're working 9 months out of the year. A lot of people say a movie. The movie is only here if you're lucky 6 weeks to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of on the hustle to get on the next movie, and you got to
Hmm.
piece that together to make a career. The 9 month television shows like Lost, Hawaii Five O, all these shows, NCIS Hawaii, that I've been blessed to kind of have a good run on. They're 9 months, so
Hmm.
you get a check, and it's a little bit stable. But it's not usually like that. And I think that's the hard part about our industry. Um, we have always been lucky in having a solid show here
Hmm.
that would employ a good amount of the industry. Like really in
Yeah.
Hawaii, we really only need one solid show, and
Hmm.
then movies will come along to supplement that.
Yeah.
And we're almost maxed out.
Hmm.
But right now we just have nothing at all, and we're dying out here. Like to be perfectly honest with you, like a lot of people are really struggling and they're leaving the industry. And so if we don't fix this soon,
Hmm.
there might not be an industry to come back to, right?
Hmm.
We got our rental houses, they might go out of business. People are going to have to shift gears and get new careers and, go mainland and try
Hmm.
to figure something out.
Yeah. So let's talk about now the the environment has completely changed.
Hmm.
Like this is no longer the same climate that it was when we had a lot of films here and TV, and we just see show after show getting canceled. I mean, NCIS Hawaii, I saw the numbers myself. It didn't make sense why it would get canceled. It had great ratings, primetime ratings that were outrated some other shows that they've kept on,
Yeah.
and then devastating for Rescue High Surf, a show that's finally not about people coming in
Yeah.
to Hawaii,
Yeah.
but about our people
Yeah.
and something so vital like water safety. What really is, in your opinion, and maybe you know the answer, why are these shows getting canceled, and why are they not coming back?
Yeah. It's kind of a perfect storm right now, and when perfect storms happen and people try to figure out what is the exact thing
Mm-hmm.
that leads to these cancellations,
Yeah.
people tend to start pointing fingers. You know what I mean? Oh,
Mm.
must have been this, must have been that.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is it's a lot of things. It's a lot of moving parts. Like just worldwide, internationally, with technology, people are getting scared of AI and how that's going to play into everything streaming, right? How everything went from major network television
Mm-hmm.
now to streaming services, Netflix, Amazon, Apple. So the tides are shifting there and who had the money and who had the power. And so structures are shifting.
Mm.
So people are getting people, in my opinion, people are trying to play it safe and they're pulling back their money and investments while they're trying to figure out and navigate this new climate. So there's that. Then you have the issue of Hawaii being Hawaii and it being ridiculously expensive
Mm.
just to get here. The infrastructure is we have infrastructure at this point, with long-term shows we're able to build some infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still not where we could be. No matter what, it's going to be expensive here. So the cost of shooting here, the change in the international climate in the industry, there's a lot of moving parts to it, and it sucks. I was on NCIS, and we had a great cast, and they were all super cool. Vanessa Lachey,
Mm-hmm.
Alex Tarrant, like, oh no, everybody on there was just super cool,
Yeah.
very loving, and when they all came in, they they had the utmost respect for Hawaii and its
Yeah.
people. And you don't get that all the time. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So it was really a cool family to have, and we were just getting the ball rolling, I feel like, going into season 3.
Mm-hmm.
But there was strikes. There was the actor strike, there was the writer strike.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that was COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been taking hits left and right, and it's been really hard to be consistent. So I think all of that factored into, and I think like Paramount was about to sell, so for like NCIS, that's a factor as well. For
Mm-hmm.
Hawaii Rescue, which I personally love the show, and like you said, we get a lot of shows that are cop shows, or
Yeah.
not shows about Hawaii, and I can tell you right now, everybody working in this industry locally can't wait to work on something that means something to us. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? We got to make a living, so we work on these shows. And to be honest with you, we learn so much from all these shows. I can tell you, guys like me start off knowing nothing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And over the years, we actually become experts at what we do through the training that is provided
Mm-hmm.
by these shows that come in. So now, when we want to move forward, if you want to make a short film, if
Mm-hmm.
somebody wants to make a local movie, we have experts that can execute it now, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the things I kind of wanted to help change is the public view of our industry.
Mm.
A lot of people look at it like, oh, that's all Hollywood people.
Mm.
We don't like Hollywood people over here.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like any of that, But if you was to come to set, it's 80%, 90% local people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So when you kind of hating on the industry, you're hating on local people,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really sad, um, because I think it's an industry, like you said, that can have a huge economic impact on our state.
Yeah.
Like, we're so dependent on tourism, and we
Mm-hmm.
saw that during COVID when everything was shut down, right? everybody was stoked on the film industry because we was bringing in millions,
Yeah.
but as soon as tourism come back, it's like, oh, you know what, let's champion that, you
Right.
know what I mean? So not to mention it goes hand in hand. Like
Mm-hmm.
our industry will always help tourism,
Right.
um so yeah, I don't know where we at.
No, yeah, I
Was I
love it.
answering the question?
I when I was Miss Hawaii, I would go to a lot of events for high
Mm,
schoolers and middle schoolers, like a lot of things. And there was one event in particular that was put on, and they invited high schoolers from all across the state. And it was basically a deep dive in everybody, like they split up into small groups and they went to each hotel.
mm,
And they'd have like, this group would go Alohilani, this group would go to the Hilton, and they'd have a tour and they'd be introduced to the different jobs that are available, and they really pitched it as this industry can keep you living in Hawaii.
mm,
And I was sitting there and I'm thinking, yeah, that's great. But why don't we have that for film?
yeah.
Like infrastructure is one thing, and I want to get into the nitty gritty of that. Like we're talking about studios and tax incentives and legislatively where we're at, but also infrastructure like schools
Yeah.
and organizations that are actually bringing in kids, like
Hmm.
offering it as an option
Yeah.
to stay in Hawaii. Um, so those two things. Infrastructure.
Yeah.
We have two up and operating kind of state run studios.
Yeah.
And they're empty,
Hmm.
which again, it's been 25 years since
Yeah.
they've been empty.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of want to know your take on Kalailoa
Yeah.
and Diamond Head. And I also just found out that Kalailoa is not even owned by the state, that we rent it from the Navy, who rent our land for $1 a year and should be paying for it,
Yeah.
which is another thing that I won't get into right
You,
now.
you know how much they lease it to us for?
How much?
$3 million a year. $3 million a year. Yeah. And then after all the kind of situations they put our state in, you're gonna charge us 3 million a year. So we're trying to work on that, right? We got some good people. There's been a huge shift just recently
Mm-hmm.
on kind of our thinking as a state. I believe, this is my opinion. I think the facts are there, right? Like, hey, this, and a lot of people do support it.
Yeah.
Like when I first came into this, like when I first started my podcast,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wanted to know why the state kind of hates us.
Right.
Because and this is just how I feel. Like, and this is from a person in the industry. I felt like we were not supported. I felt like what's going on here? Like, do they just was did something happen in the past where Hollywood or someone rubbed them the wrong way and they decided they're gonna make it very hard to support us. So but I think that's changed. I think a lot of people are seeing that, like you said, this can be a way where we can supplement our economy with the film industry. So a lot of things have changed. They're fighting um, with the military to lower that lease for us. So there is actually technically only one real studio here. If you want to call it a real studio, it's
Mm-hmm.
actually still not big enough. Like Diamond Head Studio
Mm-hmm.
is still somewhat makeshift compared to studios in LA, every
Yeah.
other studio
Yeah.
basically. So they still actually have the old Hawaii 50 stage that we still use, which is basically just like a warehouse. And
Yeah.
same for Kalailoa. Kalailoa is just a big warehouse that we retrofitted, but
Mm-hmm.
it's great. It has all the space that we need. We can build a bunch of sets in there. But that's kind of the only two state ran studios, and then we have Point Panic Studios, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
yeah, which is right now currently leased by Island Film Group. They're a kind of big, one of the bigger production companies here. Um, and so we really only kind of have those three facilities that we
Mm-hmm.
use. Um, Recently in the news, it's kind of been some pictures, some videos of Diamond Head Studio. It's overgrown. It's a ghost town. It looks, and I live close by. I drive by every day,
Yeah.
and it's super sad. You know, a lot of these shows that were in here. So ABC had the lease on Diamond Head Studio for years while we did Lost and then some other pilots, and then it
Mm-hmm.
transitioned to CBS for Hawaii 50.
Mm-hmm.
And during that whole time, those companies were maintaining the state facilities. They were
Mm-hmm.
putting millions of dollars of their own money
Mm-hmm.
into upkeeping these facilities. So now that we have no one here, these things are going to rot. And that's another thing, right? Like once these things deteriorate, there will be no industry, no infrastructure to come
Mm-hmm.
to. So that's the crisis we're in right now.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So upkeeping the studios,
Yeah.
maintaining. Um, do you know if there's a budget that they allocate for maintenance for either studios?
Um, I they do have a budget that's given through the film commission,
Mm-hmm.
and again, with a lot of people like to blame people
Mm-hmm.
who's not doing their jobs and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. But really, it's hard because they don't have the resources from the budget that they got.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the resources to do everything they need to do. So they're
Mm-hmm.
under a lot of pressure. They're, could they be doing better? In my opinion, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone could be doing better, even just guys like me, everybody likes to, kind of get mad or point the finger, but really there's a lack of participation from everyone.
Mm.
So no one should really be, in my opinion, no one should really be pointing the finger or mad at anyone unless you were participating this whole time
Yeah.
in legislation, in training,
Yeah.
in infrastructure, So we all got work to do,
Mm.
and I think we're gonna do it. I think this has fired up a lot of people in the
Yeah.
industry to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing is we're all starting to talk about it, right? You have this awesome podcast that you've had guests on that speak about the film industry. I started the podcast strictly out of necessity to have these conversations,
Mm-hmm.
to show the faces behind Hawaii's film industry, that we're local people just trying to make it just like everybody else. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? And it's hard. And we talk about salaries, like we get paid good, but it's still like a struggle to make it in Hawaii.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I look around like, how does everybody else do it? Because we're getting paid pretty good,
Yeah.
So yeah, there's we got a lot to work on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, thank you for that.
Yes.
You're killing it. What
Just
else?
keep me on track because
Yeah,
I'm
no.
like
No, you're killing it.
everywhere.
You're killing it. You're
Seriously.
doing good. Brian was a little nervous, and I was like, "Don't
I'm
be
super
nervous." No,
nervous.
don't be.
Dang.
My gosh, because it's just like what I really loved as soon as I saw you launch your podcast
Mm,
was that it felt like what I'm searching for too is just we have questions. It's not about whose fault is it.
mm,
It's about, wait, I didn't realize we were in this dire state,
mm.
and where are the cracks? Because as a community, that's our job to fill it, right? No matter who's in ledge or who's in power, who's president of this union or that, we can all come together because no one was really calling it out.
Yeah.
And I think it's different to identify things that are
Mhm.
issues versus like just blaming and pointing
Yeah.
fingers. Because I love what you said. Like, you can't really complain and come at these people if you weren't always involved.
Mm-hmm.
And for my entire life, I've never witnessed such civilian involvement in our industry, which is so funny to call people civilians.
Yeah.
But it's just because of a need, but also because everyone's out of work.
Yeah.
That'll get everybody mad.
Yeah.
But then you think, well, who is gonna stick around and keep fighting the fight when
Yeah.
we get work back?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I love the podcast,
Yeah.
your podcast specifically, because it is something that will be around and continue to shed light on the issues.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I do want to talk ledge.
Okay.
Because we are, how do you say? Industry members, like we're just working, and you'd think that the people fighting for us who get paid to fight for our industry and advocate for it would be handling these things, or you'd think they'd be farther along maybe, because this is me, and stop me, correct me at any point and fill in the gaps, because I'm really not a politics person.
No.
I'm not super educated on ledge stuff.
Is any like Hawaii person
Right?
into politics?
Wow.
Like, and isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And so my first taste of this game was just recently under crisis. And you don't, Hawaii people don't care about politics until it's like cutthroat, like you might die or your job might leave. Then you go,
Yeah.
wait, who's in charge of this stuff? So I was like that. Like I don't know any politics, and I think we're too busy like surfing, enjoying the
Yeah.
beach, like to really get involved and go. You know what? Let's sit down and watch
Mhm.
the news and hear about politics.
Right.
You
Right.
know, so I'm like you, like it. And this is just recently where I had to go
Mhm.
out and search for answers,
Yeah.
so
So we figure them out together.
yeah, yeah,
But local people, we definitely do like choose peace and aloha. I feel like we're not like, what did that bill say? What did this bill say? At least the
yeah,
people I'm around,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
But more so than ever, I am like, no, this is very important to be involved in
yeah,
politics and who you're voting for. And I know there's a bunch of people in my family that are like, I've been telling you this for years.
yeah,
But it takes personal involvement, like for
yeah,
you to have personal stake, for you to like do that extra
yeah.
step into it.
And even when you do, I'm telling you, like, even when you do, when you look at, like, for me in my case, when I started to look into it and track bills, and
Mm-hmm.
bro, it's confusing.
Yeah.
It's a game of its own,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to learn how people play the game, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
they call it politics, because just like these bills that we were trying to pass that didn't get through, it's a fight. It's a long fight,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a game. You start a bill looking like a certain way, and people start putting things in the bill, right? So a
Mm-hmm.
bill that you were supporting die hard for yesterday, um, things that they could put on
Mm-hmm.
changes how you're supporting it the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And so it it does cause mass confusion, right? And that was part of, again, trying to communicate and get everybody together and keep everybody on the same page, because we don't, as an industry, have a centralized information hub, and that's what birthed the big picture of Hawaii, was an attempt to help that out, right? Like we, film people, television people, commercial people, everyone involved in the industry, if we moved together, we would get so much more done. We would know what we need to fight for, what is priority, what is not, and move as one voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're totally moving in that direction, which is super hopeful for me, just as an industry worker, and just to let everybody else out there know that it's happening. I got a lot of people reach out to me and go, why don't we start a group that advocates for the film industry in general? I can tell you it's happening. There's some solid industry people, all with the heart
Mm-hmm.
for this industry to succeed, right? A
Yeah.
lot of people think, oh, they have their agendas.
Mm-hmm.
That I can tell you that's not the truth. At least with the people that I'm sitting next to, I knew them my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I knew them from when I was raised in the industry.
Yeah.
So to tell me that they have their own hidden agendas, that's completely a false narrative. We're all here fighting for the same thing. We're
Mm-hmm.
passionate about local people getting jobs,
Mm-hmm.
staying home, and making a living, raising their families. I want to send my girls to Iolani one day. Sorry, put home.
Oof, God.
Yeah, I
Let's.
know,
Can we talk
I
about
know.
it?
You guys came up. You know what I'm saying? But
Mm.
I always tell all the
Let's go talk
actors that
about
come
Moana.
here and they ask me, "Oh, what school should I send my kids?" I tell them, "Well, you probably gonna like send them Puna home, but if you want a more chill vibe, you go to Iolani."
Right. Dentist Joe.
Dentist, yeah.
You've actually beaten the odds by not becoming a dentist. Congratulations.
Shout out my dentist, Armin Chong. He's the best. So also Iolani alumni.
Ooh, there we
But
go.
yeah, Chris Lee is Iolani alumni. He's the
Oh man.
UH
Yeah.
ACM guy, right?
Still good. Ilani is still good.
Now we love Puno.
Yeah. Anyway.
That can be a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. We can just move forward. No, Ilani is good.
No, yeah.
Um,
We always won the scraps though, just to let you know
yeah.
my years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then people who are not from here, it's funny side note, I was at brunch and I had like my Punahou sweatshirt on.
Yeah.
And this guy stopped me and was like, hey, you went to Punahou? I'm here for my 40th reunion. Like he lives in Utah or something, right?
Okay.
And he had his wife, she's obviously not from here. Like they probably met wherever they were at.
Uh-huh.
And my friend hears him say that and she goes, I'm so sorry. Oh God, like you guys, blah, blah, blah. Just banter, like how we do with high school. the wife was mortified. She thought that like they were getting like harassed or
Yeah.
like hate speech.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
was like, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Sis, it's okay.
It's
Like
all love.
that it's all love. Yeah, it's
It's
not
all love.
serious."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I love that rivalry. Yeah. Had some good times.
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so
What
back
were we talking about?
ledge.
Okay. Yeah.
Um I want to one I love everything that you said. Yes. And to Hana hold that.
Yeah.
Um the bill that was up, one, I really love the infographics and everything that Big Picture is sending out. Like these were things that I needed to know.
Me too.
How DBED works and how the commission is actually under DBED and all these things, because that's not
Yeah.
typical for like other film commissions
Mm-hmm.
in other states in America, and each of them work a little different. So I've noticed,
Mm-hmm.
but a little different, that we would be under like economic development,
Yeah.
which makes sense. But also, when I'm seeing what you're posting,
Yeah.
right, and hearing your mana'o, that you're just a regular guy
Yeah.
looking for the answers
Yeah.
and putting it out,
Yeah.
which I love, and that's what I aim to do too. But you'd think that that would be something that our film office would be doing. And I look at Brenton Awa,
Mm-hmm.
you know him.
Yeah.
And politics aside, whatever
Mm-hmm.
anybody believes or like advocates for, what he's doing is really disruptive in a good way, I
Yeah.
think, for his who he represents,
Yeah.
and very transparent on social media, but also about the bills.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's very hard to understand
Yeah.
in layman's terms. Like
Yeah.
I've had to put it into ChatGPT and it's still confusing.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's kind of what we need, because it's not like we have like representatives or like
Mm.
committees,
Yeah.
like it would be, you'd think, the film office or the film commission who are advocating for us to kind of share on social media what the reality is, so that
Mm-hmm.
there can be unity.
Yeah.
And I kind of just wanted to talk about maybe issues in our film office,
Yeah.
if there is one, and not to
Mhm.
tear anyone down,
Yeah.
but like Georgia Skinner and Donnie Dawson have
Yeah.
been head of the county, Donnie commissioner of the county, and Georgia of the state, since I was
Right.
a child.
Yeah.
Like that was always who they were, and I didn't realize that you don't, like, there's no interchanging,
Yeah.
and not that there always has to be, but
Yeah.
when things stop working,
Yeah.
you wonder like who will take responsibility or who will champion new movement.
Right.
And the champions right now have been civilian people.
Yeah.
And I know they work hard, but I kind of wanted to know your perspective on that, about the film office, specifically Donnie and
Mhm.
Georgia, who are the leaders of our commission.
Right. That's a good question. That's something I'm still searching for answers about. I've met Georgia recently, kind of just in the circles that I've been in lately. But yeah, prior to that, like a worker like me, you really don't know what they do,
Right.
and just like everybody else, nobody really cared because we was getting work, because in my opinion, Hawaii been selling itself,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the people who need to sell Hawaii, what is their job if it sells itself,
Right.
right? But they have a lot of responsibilities. They deal with, they facilitate the tax incentive, the credits, and they're watching if people are hitting their marks to receive those tax incentives. They organize who's running the facilities that we talked about, and but the main thing is like they're the government liaisons, right? So when the government speaks to our industry, that's who's speaking for our industry, right? So whatever they're almost saying is what they're taking, right? So if that office is in any way unorganized, don't have specific facts to produce to show the government that we are making an impact and how, that's where I think our state government loses faith in our industry, right? So are they doing their job it's at this point it's hard to say, because we don't have any work here. You know what I mean? So, like you said, there has to be accountability, right? Like, at least we can look into it, right? A lot of times it's kind of like that. Oh, how dare you even ask? You know, God forbid you want to know exactly what we're doing. It's like, yeah, we kind of do because we dying out here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And guess who getting paid? They getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we are on unemployment, collecting food stamps, selling people selling houses. Like it's bad.
Yeah.
So that's where the fire comes from, when people, get upset and point fingers. But again, what the state allocates them for a budget to do their job,
Mm-hmm.
let's look at that too, because they may not be getting everything they need to do their job properly,
Mm-hmm.
but there are some things that could change. Like, I just saw a video that they were presenting, to the state, that was, like, I guess, showcasing Hawaii and the film industry. And I definitely have my opinions about it. Now, I'm a filmmaker. I do this for a living. What they put up was like, I did that at Iolani at my creative writing class on my iMac, like the first one. You know what I mean? And to be
And say more
honest,
about that, like the information or the way they presented it.
both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was, it was beauty shots, and yes, we know that about Hawaii. Like, looks like you got that on Shutterstock and just played a video of drone shots. Where's the story about our production workers here, the people that work in the industry? The you know they basically didn't really showcase the information, like you said, that we want to be putting out there
Mm-hmm.
to attract work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my question, is like, are we going out to, say, LA, anywhere else that they're creating shows, New York, the shows are made there, right? So what are we doing to get out there to pitch Hawaii as a location? Are they doing that? Do they have the money to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Should we give them the money to go out there and host people and say, hey, come here,
Yeah.
and guess what? Hire some filmmakers to make the, video about Hawaii film industry.
Mm-hmm.
Why not do that? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that don't make sense, and I did want to I put that out there on the big picture Hawaii to kind of get the temperature and the opinions, and everybody kind of said the same thing. They were kind of, it's like, it's kind of embarrassing. So again, I didn't want to move in a negative way,
Mm-hmm.
but there has to be accountability, because just like my homeboys, right? Like, those boys is my boys because they tell me straight to my face what's up.
Yeah.
And when they tell me straight to my face what's up, I can adjust and I can be better,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there has to be a level of honesty.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot be all cool. Oh no, let's not upset these people. There has to be truth in it. And I think we're starting to get to that point,
Mm-hmm.
that we're coming to the table, every part of the industry, discussing how we feel about it, right? How we felt left out, how we felt like there was a side agenda, and we all came together, had some discussions, and we put all that aside for the betterment of the industry moving as one forward. So yeah.
Mm. How do you feel about, well, one, like you said, industry workers have become experts in their field,
Mm-hmm.
and now because there's no work, you have a bunch of experts
Yeah.
now looking only at the film office and saying, I mean, from grip to media to filming, camera, production, like producers, everybody who has their niche is looking at the film office that does all of those things and is like, finally, I think, giving feedback and identifying where there could be help, or where there could be more of a focus.
Mm-hmm.
So I think about like producers, like Angie. People call Angie; they're not calling our film commissioner.
Yeah.
And that could be for a plethora of reasons, but it just makes me wonder if they are receptive
Mm-hmm.
to feedback from the community that they serve.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like you said, we've had work for so long. I wonder if even the perspective is we are serving these people,
Mm-hmm.
or are we a thorn in their side
Mm-hmm.
because it's been one way for so long. Because I'm all for, I'm not running down the hall going, get rid of them, right?
Yeah.
Like burn them on a stake.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can pivot with
Yeah.
where the industry needs you to pivot and hustle where we need you to hustle, if it requires that, like, do you feel like they are receptive to that, and are going after the things with the aggression and intensity and information that they need to be?
It's interesting because I think platforms like this put a little pressure on
Mm-hmm.
for them to kind of come to the table for everybody in general, like people and politicians, people in those seats at the film commission. No, the whole point is this whole time, like you said, these positions are appointed. No one voted. No one in the industry
Mm-hmm.
voted for these people to take their seats, and people got terms for a reason, right? The president
Yep.
got terms for a reason. So like you said, maybe it's something that we should look at, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how are these people keeping their jobs? Are those the right people for the job?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I mean, um, what was the question again?
And that's my fault. Sorry for
No,
making
no,
such a
no,
long, big question.
no,
But kind
no.
of, do you think that they are receptive?
Yeah, yeah, no. I think they are. So that's what I was getting at. Is like platforms like these actually kind of put the pressure on. Like information is getting out, right? And for so long, information didn't need to get out, so they everybody's kind of
Mm-hmm.
cruising, you know. So I think they want the industry. I do believe that they want the industry to flourish. They are trying their best that they can. I think they're receptive to what is going on, what people are saying. Um, so yeah, like Georgia, like she loves my podcast. She told me, I seen her at the Lilo and Stitch premiere. She's like, I love your podcast. I'd like to come on. Like, so those are people like not hiding. They
Yeah.
want to come speak. We haven't had her on yet,
Mm-hmm.
but I hope we do. I'm trying to get everybody on in the
Yeah.
industry right now with the resources that we have and everybody doing it for free. We do what we can, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that I would love to showcase and have on. Georgia being someone who's been involved in the industry, who holds a seat, for the state. That would be a great person to speak with. Again, I'm still trying to learn, but in answering your question, I think so. I think they are receptive to what we're saying, and they're trying their best, and we're moving in that direction.
Mm. So, what are the things that really need to change?
um, it's right now, it's easy to say right now, right? So we are trying to compete at not only an international level, which is very hard to compete with other countries like New Zealand, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have, their countries provide healthcare, so people, studios don't have to pay for that, right? So that's a huge cost. um Wages is a lot cheaper, and then locations is cheaper to shoot at. So that international competition is very hard, but at a national level, we have a lot of states now in competition. It wasn't always like this. Like Hawaii was actually one of the few places that gave a incentive to shoot here.
Mm-hmm.
Since that, there's been many estates that found like, hey, the film industry is actually a huge economy booster, right? So you got places like New Orleans, you got places like Georgia, and they give these huge incentives up to 40%, and no caps, right? Our cap is at 50 million currently. They have no caps. Some places have $100 million caps. And that just signals to the studios like, you can come here, you can set up infrastructure. This system is going to be here for a while, and you can lay a foundation here. Ours is capped at 50 million, and our percentage right now is at 22%. So when you're looking at places that have 30, 35, up to 40%, um, there's other places to go shoot besides Hawaii. And the way technology is going,
Mm-hmm.
the money that you're saving from not coming to Hawaii, you could build a studio with a screen that looks like Hawaii, right? Just like
Mm-hmm.
how we seen in Moana live action.
Yeah.
95% of that was shot in Atlanta, and they just made a studio look like Hawaii.
Yeah.
And so
That was
that's the
devastating.
scary part, right? That's the sad part, that if we don't stay competitive, other people will start to tell our stories.
Mm-hmm. So, do you think that upping the tax incentive um, would make us competitive again?
1000%. I think that's what we should all be hyper focused on right now, is just bumping that up. And the incentive being bumped up comes with a lot of requirements, like hiring 80% or more local people.
Mm-hmm.
So the incentives are given with local people in mind. I don't know if people understand that we're giving these incentives to create jobs, to give money, put money into local vendors, right? How much we spend at City Mill, how much we spend at freaking Chanwa Cam. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we spend money everywhere, and vendors will tell you that. Like, we have a lot of support from businesses in local communities here, because a lot of people feel the impact of our industry around. So if we was to bump it up, which we are fighting for, say another 5%, right? 7%, five, that would put us in a range of being competitive. And then later we can kind of work on things like raising the cap. And it's hard, like, it's so cut and dry for us. Oh, just do that. But the state has, their budget too. They got to figure out how to maneuver this, and how are you going to pivot money from affordable housing to the film industry, you know?
Right.
And so it's not an easy thing to do.
Mm-hmm. In my opinion, Hawaii operates very much out of an oppressive and scarcity mindset,
Mm,
simply because of our historical background,
mhm.
and I don't know how much of that is really true, but it's just something that I observe, right? Whether that's really where people's minds are at or not, as like a people, but then also in our government. I feel like it's when you feel like you don't have a lot, it's like very tight fisted. And it just makes me wonder when bills like this last one die, um, why it why it dies, why the ledge is not willing to bet on our industry when the numbers are there. And so I think, well, is it because the numbers are not being communicated, or is it because, like you said before, do you just hate our industry
Right.
and you don't want to invest in it without getting an immediate payback?
Hmm.
Um, what do you think it is about, or I guess this bill specifically, was it 782?
732. Yeah.
732. What happened? Because
Yeah.
we saw like a massive turnout of industry workers go to the Capitol and basically say, hey, pass this so that we can go back to work.
Yeah.
Um, what happened?
Yeah, so what we saw was just a gathering at the Capitol. It wasn't like a protest, it
Right.
wasn't like a fight. Like, literally, it was people so antsy to do anything because they're dying, like we're losing everything, to get out and be seen. And that's why so many people showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, that whole thing came together in like one day,
Mm-hmm.
when we found out that that bill wasn't even going to be heard. So
Mm-hmm.
the fear was the bill itself wasn't even going to be heard, and nothing would happen until next year. So that was kind of the sense of urgency to, and to be honest with you too, a lot of us never even see each other for 6, 8 months,
Yeah.
1 year. So just for the simple fact of seeing each other, giving each other a hug, telling each other hang in there, that's what that was for. Um, but what happened, and this is again from a grip putting things together on his own and trying to figure out the game, was, the bill started off as one thing. Things started being put in there that was scary.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a lot of positive things in there, like raising the cap, raising the percentage, changing our language of the incentive to include streaming. So right now, our incentive, does not benefit any streaming show. So if you're doing a mini series like a 8 episode thing like Chief of War, for example, that doesn't fall into them getting an incentive,
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy because and which is just out of date, right? Like
Yeah.
the world is moving in that direction where everybody's just watching miniseries, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Television that has 22 to 25 episode shows,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are kind of falling out of that. So it's kind of like an update. The bill was kind of to update, get us more competitive
Mm-hmm.
from our last percentage that we had to up it to a more competitive percentage. So there was things like that in there that we felt would have made a immediate impact of shows saying, "Hey, let's shoot here,"
Yeah.
or shows continuing to shoot here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did the death of that bill lead to Hawaii Surf being canceled?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some people say yes, some people say no. I don't know. To me, it was a
Yeah.
factor. You know, so um, yeah, there was a lot of positive things, but the one thing that they put in there was a sunset date for the incentive overall,
Mm.
which is what I believe, Kyle Yamashita, who recently got replaced.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that kind of coincide? I don't know, right? But he doesn't believe in incentives in general, right? So like we look at Bill 796. This is another bill, 732, 796. Like, bro, this is confusing, right?
Let me get my calculator.
Exactly. So the whole game is confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And is it like that on purpose? I don't know. Kind of seems like it.
Mm-hmm.
So that bill included all incentives having a sunset date, meaning everybody who operates off tax incentives,
Mm-hmm.
totally gone. Solar,
Oh.
affordable housing. 796 was to take away all incentives, and our industry was on that bill. So
Well.
that was one we were fighting against, which got passed,
Mm-hmm.
and then the governor vetoed
Vetoed
it.
it.
Right.
No wonder people hate that guy, Kyle Yamashita, right? I just hear left and right people hate, people don't
That's
like
the
you,
word
Kyle.
on the street.
But I guess because of the incentives, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
he doesn't believe in them. You know what I mean? And why, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was replaced. So again, that's where I feel like we're a little bit more hopeful, not
Mm-hmm.
having like an adversary against the industry like that.
But he was a state representative, right,
Yes.
from Maui.
Yep.
So how do you get replaced out of session because it wasn't like voting time?
I believe that was the governor who made that call, right?
No way.
Yeah, who is a huge supporter of the
Yeah.
industry. Like he said it a bunch of times. We've had his daughter on set. Like they
Yeah.
put her in the scene in Wrecking Crew.
So
You know
awesome.
what I mean? And they're all there. They
Mm-hmm.
they they love the film. Every politician you see come by set,
Mm-hmm.
they love it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so that's why for me it doesn't click. Like
Mm-hmm.
why don't we have more support in this?
Mm-hmm.
Why does it always get shot down?
Right.
Why do these bills always get shut down?
Mm-hmm.
So, but 732 also had some sunset terms on there, meaning we'll give you guys all of these things that you're asking for, but your incentives also die in 5 years, and now you have zero incentives. So that's the death of the
Mm-hmm.
industry here as well, right? So there was a lot of people that went from supporting the bill to don't pass this bill because there's a sunset date on it. My personal opinion, if you want to know it, was it was so critical that we get our percentage of incentive raised and include streaming services immediately. Yes, there was that sunset date on there, but I felt like that was 5 years, 6 years, and we could have fought in the interim to change that. But right now, without those specific things changing, the incentive and the streaming thing, people might not even, studios might not even come here for a year or two. And when that happens, we lose the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Diamond Head gets overrun. Our local, equipment rental vendors, they all have to go
Mm-hmm.
bankrupt or whatever. People change careers. So this next year or two is super critical.
Mm. And in the last year, I feel like I've heard a lot of rhetoric about the only way to reinvigorate our film industry is to find private money
Mm,
because we weren't going to be getting support from the state, um, either at all or in a timeline that is going to get people back to work as soon as possible because these are people's lives. This is paying for their kids' education, this is putting food on the table, all these things, right? Um, and so I was kind of like, okay, interesting. Like, I guess we'll have to find like investors or something to pour money here, or like create private schools or a privately owned studio.
right.
I'm kind of thinking, what do you think about that private investor sect of the film industry? Um, yeah.
Yeah. Believe me, I would love it. You know what I mean? And um, I would love an ecosystem where someone is funding local movies, local TV shows, and we could work on those things, and hopefully those things become something the world wants to see, and then we get good money in return for it, and that ecosystem can continue, right? The hard part for me is knowing that, and this is, to be honest, every filmmaker knows this, it's not really a money making industry. You know, when you telling a personal story, it's personal to you, but how sellable is that to the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? So your return on your investment is very shady. Like you know, a lot of times you don't make money off your short film, off your independent
Yeah.
film. Is very hard, you know, and that's another thing people got to know too, how much money it takes to make a movie,
Yeah.
how much money it takes to make a television show. People sometimes out there is like, I can make a movie for this amount. Yeah, but that movie is going to have its limits. That movie that you will be working on won't be as safe. When you're working on a 9 month show, it's a lot of money. So a lot of people don't understand that. The people putting that type of money into shows, they have a lot of money, and um, they have a lot to gamble with almost, right? So when you think about it, show network studios like CBS, or even like, you know, big movie studios, they're making about 10 projects. They're putting tons of money into 10 projects in hopes that one or two of them blow up and actually cover the costs of all 10 and maybe make some money. You know what I mean? But within those 10 projects, there's 8 failed projects. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and they're willing to take that risk because they got that money to play with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who's going to take that risk as a personal private investor here. So that's the hard part of me kind of you know, really comprehending that structure. It would be awesome. I would love that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Jeff Bezos, we need you.
yeah, like yeah, where they all at? And
Yeah.
Oprah, where you at?
I know, right? I mean, these are people like, I mean, obviously Amazon, they have their whole studio and I feel like Amazon, Netflix, um, they're like at the forefront. They're the ones with the money now and
Yeah,
with the control. And they're sitting on so much. I want them to like create a studio here in Hawaii.
yeah,
Because when you have so much money, like a part of it feels like you also have to have a heart to give back and to
yeah,
invigorate into like a community. But I
yeah,
feel like Jeff Bezos likes Hawaii. I mean, he's
yeah,
built a home here,
yeah.
and his factories and all that stuff. Which now my Amazon stuff comes quick, so I like it.
Super
Don't
quick.
hate on me
Too
for
quick.
ordering Amazon. I'm like, I want to talk about too, as much as you know, like the GE tax and the
Mhm.
fact that we don't have a local accounting company. We're going through cast and crew and the other one I forget what it's called.
Yeah, EP and
EP, yeah.
entertainment partners.
Which I
Yeah,
had no idea that when you come here and you're paying people here,
yeah,
you also are paying a GE tax. Like the
yes,
payroll company has
yeah.
to pay ahead of time to cover tax. I still don't really can't follow
Yeah,
it.
and it's also confusing to me as well, but
It's like double income tax.
yeah, it's they get charged GE tax on a service. A lot of, you know, like everywhere else, this is my understanding, everywhere else, um they paid taxes, G tax on goods,
Mm-hmm.
not services.
Mm-hmm.
So the payroll services, and it's hard because film industry payroll services are way different than McDonald's or any kind of other place. There's so much involved with different wages, different bumps, different
Mm-hmm.
residuals. So you have these specific payroll companies like EP,
Mm-hmm.
Cast and Crew, and they changed. They used to be categorized as merchandise, um, and then they got changed over to retail. So that change in the category bumped it up 4.5%. So the payroll company now has to pay 4.5% of the total payroll that they're payrolling, so that's a huge cost factor. And yeah, there's some people out there is like, oh, just put that in your budget when you're making your movie. Yeah, you can do that, but we also have to know that that's going to be the issue, because one of the things was that change happened 6 years ago, and they really didn't implement it until 4 years ago, when all of a sudden they were like, hey, you got to pay this G tax at
Mm-hmm.
4.5%, I believe. And everybody's going, when did that change? They're like, oh, that happened years ago. And they're like, we haven't been paying that. Why does it only change now? Like, oh, we really haven't really enforced it, but now we are.
Mm-hmm.
So my question was, did they retro that? Like, did all these studios have to pay now for the years that they weren't enforcing it? And the answer was no. But you know who they did enforce it on?
Mm-hmm.
Was our local vendors. So any local people who had rentals, rental kits, they actually got retroed and had to pay that GE tax, back tax for years.
But you're not going to charge the big
And they
studios who have
didn't.
the big money?
Exactly.
Whose choice was that?
I have no idea.
Mm.
Yeah, I have no idea. The state. I
Mm.
mean, they're the ones enforcing the taxes, so that's
Mm-hmm.
something kind of to look into. You know,
Mm.
don't take anything I'm saying for fact. It's things that we should maybe look
That we're
into.
noticing, yeah.
Yeah,
Same with me. I mean, I'm by no means a
yeah.
master or like an
N-
expert in any of this, but
no.
Portuguese is gonna see what she's gonna see
You know what I'm
and
saying?
want to talk about
Yeah.
it.
Hey, if people are hiding and not making things clear, we only can think what we can think from what we see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I'd love to be fact checked. I'd love for people who really know to come out and say
Yeah.
what it is, whether they're in ledge or not, because that's how we all learn and that's how we all grow.
Yeah.
And I think just the information feels gate kept. And that was one of the
Hmm.
biggest reasons that I even wanted to start this podcast is my goal is to create a space where we can have vulnerable conversation in a safe place that people feel comfortable to share, because so much of our culture even is gate kept.
Yeah.
Like there are so little access points. And if we just talk about it, you create an access point.
Yeah.
The same thing goes with film industry. Like let's talk about it so that we can just know and learn from it. Like
Yeah.
just exposure to the facts. You'd be so surprised how that can initiate change and real impact.
Yeah.
So I just feel like so much of it is gate kept, and I
Yeah.
want to know. I want to know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know. And, growing up in Hawaii, it's like, it was hard for me because I felt like trapped in the middle. Yeah. Like,
Mm,
I wanted to tell stories about Hawaii, and there's a lot of people super concerned how those stories are told, which rightfully so, right? We got to tell them the right way. But I also grew up in the entertainment industry where there's a lot of fantasy. It's entertainment.
mm,
You know what I mean? There's representations. It's not everything's not historical facts,
mm-hmm,
right? So there's a part of me that wants to tell our stories in almost like whatever way possible. I know that's
mm-hmm,
going to be controversial, like, but what if no stories are told because of the gatekeepers, right? What
mm-hmm,
if it's like, no, that's not super accurate. Oh, no, that has a couple
mm-hmm,
misinterpretations. We got to take the whole story off the board.
mm-hmm,
Then what if our culture and our stories never get told,
mm-hmm,
you know? Or the only people telling them is outside people,
mm-hmm,
you know? Um, do I feel like there's a time and a place for everything. Yes. And I think that time and place is now and here, right? We got the people that can do it in the right positions. We have local producers, right? Like you mentioned, Angela Pratt, Brian Keolana. Um, we have a bunch of people that can actually be at the top level, putting the right cultural, um, what do you call those, cultural
Advisors.
advisors in the right places to tell the right stories, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So yeah, I feel you on that one. Like I feel like there are some gatekeepers that really don't let any information out or anything through. And we got to kind of just have that discussion
Mm-hmm.
and you know, do it the right way.
Mm-hmm. As an industry member and now really a voice emerging, also kind of want to touch on haters and like the critique
Hmm.
of film being made in Hawaii, because you kind of started talking about it where there's a difference between small indie film that's about our culture and local stuff, and then the big money studio productions that come who have an audience of mainland America, which may not be interested in the nitty gritty stories that we also want to tell. But there's so much feedback and hate on one Chief of War having half a Maori cast. Um, what is her name? Sydney from Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, I'll go
Yeah,
down.
yeah. No.
Oh,
The one that's on. Yeah, her name is
yeah,
Sydney Agudan.
yeah.
What's the other girl's name? Agudan. The one that was
You
on
just
that
had
every.
her, yeah, the sister.
Are they sisters?
I think so.
Wait, yeah,
Yeah.
because they're both from Kauai. I'm such a
Yes.
Portuguese. I didn't even know that. Wait,
Yeah.
and they're both blowing up at the same time, which
Yeah.
I love.
Yeah.
Um, her not being like Hawaiian, but growing up in Kauai and everybody's pissed. I saw a Lilo and Stitch movie and I loved it. I thought it was great and I had no qualms about it.
Yeah.
But so many people are upset.
Yeah.
Kind of wondering what your take is
Bro, I love that you're
that.
talking about this because it's super touchy, right?
Yeah.
Lots of controversy. I see it on social media. And to me, I gotta be honest with you, I don't really pay any mind to haters like that.
Hmm.
You know, like they're such a small percentage, and they cause such a uproar that
Hmm.
people think that's valid,
Hmm.
right? And that's cool. Have your opinions, but that's a lot of hate going on for someone who is from Hawaii being successful, working hard. At the end of the day, it's somebody working hard from a kid getting their opportunity and killing it.
Hmm.
I thought she represented it great. I thought she killed it in that movie. Girl from Kauai, go ahead, like, you know. And yeah, you get just people not in the arena, you know what I mean. And this is goes for anything, our film industry here. It's people outside the arena get so much to say, but they too afraid to get in the arena, right?
Hmm.
They too afraid to get in here and do the work. So that's what I respect a lot is people who put in the hard work
Yeah.
and grind every day. And just like you doing this podcast, just like me
Hmm.
doing my podcast, bro, it takes courage. You know how much courage it takes to get denied roles as an actress, as a child actress, as an actor, years and years of denial, auditioning, not getting it, and then finally getting something after
Hmm.
all those years of hard work, sacrifice,
Yeah.
you know, not pursuing anything, um, you know, whether it's college or another job, giving all that up to pursue your dream and then getting there and then being hated on, you know. And to me that's pilau. Like you shouldn't be hating on that kind of stuff. And you shouldn't be hating on people in the industry here in Hawaii trying to make a living, you know what I mean? Plenty Hawaiians in our industry, you know, and we do our best to represent Hawaii from where we're at, you know, and I feel like everybody should be supporting that. And I'm gonna say it right here. It's like Hawaii people, it's like crabs in a bucket. They see somebody getting success, they're trying to pull them back. Why? You know? So we gotta really kind of be aware of the sensitivities of these haters out there. And I can tell you one thing too: don't feed into it. You know, if you're out there and you're hearing all these haters, don't feed into it. You know, nothing good comes from hate.
Hmm.
You know,
But that being said, not feeding into it.
mm,
When that's the only voice, right? And it gets so loud, not addressing it, like, do you think that that's the answer, to kind of just ignore them, or to be a voice to say, no, wh- I'm in it, I work it, this has made a positive impact in our community, this is like, shut this down?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, everybody's so scared for pushback against
Mm-hmm.
those type of things, right? Because, like, okay, if you push back against that, then you pushing back against all Hawaiians, and you
Mm-hmm.
pushing back against the whole culture. You pushing back against all of this, which that's not the case.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and again, people get so attached to fighting their causes for certain things, or fighting causes that have hurt them personally, that they're continuing
Mm-hmm.
to pursue their fight on. um so again, it's like, it's good to hear people's opinions. Everybody has opinions. Say your
Mm-hmm.
opinion, you know, but don't hate, don't pull people down, don't attack
Yeah.
people like that.
And I find it interesting that these days, all you need to have credibility is somebody else on the internet agreeing with you.
Oh, all you need is 20,000 bots.
Yeah. Right?
All you need is 20,000 bots, and
Mm-hmm.
people go, "Oh, this person get following. Like, oh, we should
Mm-hmm.
listen to what this person has to say."
Right.
And so I see a lot of people in from the industry here, speaking their mind. And I grew up in this industry 40. My dad been in it 40 years. I've been in it 20. I haven't ever seen these people on one set that I've worked on. And I've been on a lot of sets. I've been, a lot of places. So that kind of tells me something too.
Mm-hmm.
Not to sound arrogant or anything like that, but look into the people who have stuff to say. And that's another thing that Iolani taught me. Check your sources.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? A lot of people, my dad, our parents, they see
Yeah.
something on Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh, you heard about this?
Right,
It's
right,
like,
right.
Dad, did you click on it?
Yeah.
That's AI.
But that's critical thinking, and then media literacy too. I think
Yeah.
it ties in now more than ever. We need to have media literacy at the forefront to be able to shift through what is uh should be credible
Mm-hmm.
and what shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Not to get all into like fake news, right? And real news.
Yeah.
But like you said, the people who are saying it, they're not actually working, and I've never seen them on set. But I want to see more people who are on set talking about the reality of
Yeah.
what this is. Like where we're really at.
Well, it's like anything else, right? They're afraid that what they say on a public level is going to either result in them losing their job,
Mm-hmm.
or result in them being critically judged.
Mm-hmm.
And in an industry that depends so much on networking, people don't really a lot of times like to say how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard. I'm the same way too. I try to
Yeah.
be cool with everybody. But at the same time, I have that little bit, I don't really give a, in me.
Mm-hmm.
And people love me, for better or worse.
Yeah.
And it's worked for me. And I think at the end of the day, no matter what, the truth will always be revealed. You know what I mean? The
Mm-hmm.
cream will always rise to the top, what me and my boys say.
Mm.
And that's all you should really be focused on, is working hard for yourself. And however it plays out, it plays out.
Yeah. I definitely, being so portuguese, like I talk before I think.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely learning how to have the choke chain,
I
right?
know.
Because I don't want to piss anybody off, but I'm
Yeah.
not afraid of offending people
Yeah.
to find out what I'm trying to find out,
Yeah.
or like call things like I see it.
Yeah.
And I've said it before on the podcast, but what I say and believe today, I don't have tomorrow's information.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay to change my opinion and say it publicly and say, oh, that wasn't the reality, or I learned more about this.
Yeah.
I think that we should be more, as a community, more courageous to stand on the things that we believe today.
Yeah.
Because there's so much information, it kind of feels intimidating. Like, well, I don't know everything. I'm
Yeah.
not an expert. But I think each of us has such a unique experience, that we do have knowledge. And what you and I have seen and believe, like, that does have value
Yeah.
to share,
Yeah.
at least. Do you have any thoughts, opinions on Chief of War casting half Maori actors? to play Hawaiians?
Um, Again, I'm on the side of our stories being told, our stories being showcased, our shows that I want to work on, shows that local people want to work on. Um, I work in the entertainment industry for years. It's a role. You know what I mean? It's actors. It's This is not real life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like it's a show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so um if someone is acting like someone or in a role,
Mm-hmm.
like they don't have to be that.
Mm-hmm.
This is just my opinion, right?
Yeah.
This is the entertainment industry. um so having said that, would I like it if it was all native Hawaiians? 100%, I would
Mm-hmm.
love that. But the way it goes is, do we have enough trained talent,
Mm.
right? Just because I want to be an NFL football player doesn't mean I can go step out on that field and be one, no matter what I was,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's the skill or not. So same like acting, it's a profession that is highly, you got to train, you got to practice, you got to rehearse, you got to a lot of people go to school, a lot of people go to classes
Mm-hmm.
for years. So do you know do I do I want that aspect of casting to stop the story being told?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
I don't want that to be
Yeah.
stopping the story from being told. um
I mean, I totally agree with you.
are they
Um,
using Polynesians? They using Polynesians,
mm-hmm.
that's a win. Can we be happy or no, or we got
Mm.
to be mad, we got to hate that,
Come on.
we got to
Yeah.
pull the whole show down, we got to hate Jason Momoa, we got to
Mm-hmm.
hate, you know, all these
Yeah.
people who work super hard locally to
Yeah.
put on something like that, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's, because coming out of that show, I was telling you earlier, I had the pleasure of working on that show for a really long time from before they had casted everybody, so you're seeing the tapes and what came out of them saying, like, we just didn't have the talent here. People get so offended by that. And I think it's interesting because while we may have talent, a part of that makes you a good pick for a big show is your credibility, which comes with on set experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because I also think people don't understand who are not actors. And I've been taking acting class and helping out with ICANN, and I'm not a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've learned about acting is that it's such a heavy mental and emotional process that being able to carry a show as a series regular, what that means, showing up every single day, staying in the character, being able to continuously give for 10 months, that is also a part of your talent. It's not just what you can put on a tape, right? Like,
Yeah.
so when they say they want to choose someone, and the studios, it's not always this way, right? But
Mm-hmm.
studios really want actors who have been acting and been on set or have carried something like
Of
that
course.
over somebody who doesn't have that experience. And I don't think that that's absolutely cuckoo.
Mm-hmm.
Do they get a little crazy sometimes? Like, do I think they should take more chances? Of course.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's unfair to want that because, like you said, they're putting millions and millions and millions of dollars. And if that
Exactly.
person croaks
Yep.
and can't carry it, that's all wasted
Yep.
because you find a new person, reshoot everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like the worst case scenario and loses the most money.
Yeah.
And the whole, like you said, they're Polynesians, like half Maori cast. And to me, I don't want anything to stop the story from being told.
Yeah.
And to me, and this can be controversial to some, I guess, to me, I would rather one of the first films, limited series, to be made about ancient native Hawaii, told in Olelo, Hawaii, to be so excellent and undeniable that we are no longer the oppressed taking over culture.
Mm-hmm.
In every movie that's been made about ancient Hawaii, we are the oppressed, and the underdog. But what has really been told about who we are truly
Right.
as Native Hawaiians? And to me, the excellence level should be more of the priority.
Yeah.
And if the people with the money are going to say that it's going to be with these people, I think that that matters.
Yeah.
I want it to be as good as it can be, because I mean, the story as old as time, indigenous people don't get many chances.
Yeah.
You know, like especially like in Black America, like
Mm-hmm.
you don't get to be angry. You don't get to make mistakes. Or being a woman in corporate America,
Mm-hmm.
you have to work twice as hard as everyone else just to be seen like you contribute,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or else you're lazy, or you mouth off one time and you're a
Mm-hmm.
mega bitch.
Yeah.
But the man can go and yell and yell and yell, and he's a hard worker dedicated to his craft.
Mm.
Um, and it's not that I see the world through that lens,
Yeah.
but it's definitely a reality. And so for like Hawaiians, I'm like, you guys, can't it just be okay that we have an excellent piece of work that accurately tells our story? Or are we going to shut it down and tell everyone to boycott it
Yeah.
because it's not to the standard that you want it to be made at? And that's kind of devastating to me sometimes, you know?
1000%. And the whole, like, for me is, how will anybody ever know the oppression or the story of Hawaii if nothing gets out?
Mm,
Like, do you think Chief of War will pique anybody's interest into the history of Hawaii? Do you think this hundreds of million of dollars show that Apple has put into Chief of War will pique anyone's interest into our culture and what really happened and how it really went? I think it is.
for sure.
And so is that a win? Or are we super concerned about, you know what I mean, small things,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So I don't know. Like, and I'm, again, like I said earlier, I've been torn about this my whole life in the industry,
Mm,
right? And that sucks for people in the industry too, that we got to be torn about it. Um, but we are, you know, it's like, do we tell our story or do we not, you know? And who is gonna be the people that say it's good or no good, you know? And yeah, who are those people? You know,
mm,
is it just people on the internet,
yeah.
or is it actual cultural advisors?
Yeah.
You know, because you come talk to our cultural advisors. Come talk to the real people who is saying
Mm-hmm.
it's good or not. You, us as a Hawaiian community, don't believe in those people.
Mm,
Maybe we'll check their qualifications, and if that's good enough for you, then we good, or no.
right.
You know, when is it ever gonna be good enough for our story to get told?
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
But you know, the idea that next year, Chief of War comes out in August, the idea that next October, Halloween, there's going to be a family in Minnesota, or like little kids that want to dress up like Kaiana or Queen Kahumanu,
Mm-hmm.
like that is exciting to me. And
Yeah.
some people would say, oh, cultural appropriation and this and this and this. It's
Yeah.
like, sure, to an extent, right? But like the idea that it's just being told, that people are learning about us because we live here and we experience it. But like, no, I think exposure is the way that we uh, get what we've always wanted as a culture, which is recognition, independence, sovereignty, which is another thing. But like, I think you can have. I just want people to see us as sovereign sometimes. I don't
You
know that
just
it
don't
needs to
want the
be.
culture to die.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? So I think this helps the culture not die. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and that's just my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't know. Everyone has an opinion. Everybody's very passionate, and people get passionate and fight only for things they care deeply about.
Mm-hmm.
And so when anybody cares deeply about anything, I have respect for that. You know, but I think in a way we gotta look at what brings us together and like what we have in common,
Yeah.
as opposed to what is off about us,
Mm-hmm.
and nitpick those things, because I think a lot of times when you actually come to the table and you get off the internet and you sit at a table and discuss something, it's chill. You know what I mean? Like, people have conversations and work things out. It's different when you face to face, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, like I say the biggest thing is don't mind, don't pay any mind to the haters that are just out there just wanting attention and not really credible.
Mm. Do you want to talk about the alliance?
Oh yeah. So yeah, the Hawaii Film Alliance. This is a positive thing in our industry that's currently like we're in the midst of it right now. Like we're actually building the website with Kiala Lucero, Angie LaPret, Brian Keolana. We actually have, Irish Barber, who's the BA for the local IATSE 665. We have studio people, we have DGA people, we have just your normal worker like me. PAs to actors, all involved. And something we're trying to create is one voice for the industry called the Hawaii Film Alliance. I'm just a small part of that. The biggest thing that we want to do with that is to give the voice back to the industry people that actually the workers, right? A lot of times we might be misrepresented from certain industry heads, right? Where what they think is the best idea for us is not really what we think. So that's who's representing us at the state level for us at the state level, and so we kind of wanted also to project the industry as being unified, right? I think when the state or outside entities look at Hawaii's film industry, they see us as just scattered, not organized, drama sometimes. So this kind of is in hopes to unify everyone, speak, have discussions, hard discussions, put all our prides aside in whatever we have going on and just come to the table in unity so that we can have one voice when we speak to people on the outside world or our own government that, hey, this is what we're organized about, this is what our needs are, and this is why it'll benefit you guys. And this is why we need your support. So that's kind of what the Hawaii Film Alliance is for. It's coming out soon, and we hope to get the support of everybody on that.
I love that.
Yeah,
One voice, one people. I
one
love
team.
one team. I like that. One
Of
kingdom.
course, you like one team. That's Iolani's motto.
Oh
Oh,
God, I hate it.
got
No, I
you,
hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
gotcha.
Buff and blue. Buff and blue. Um. Okay. Kind of wrapping up.
Okay.
Um. But I kind of want to know what, like, if you had a magic wand and you could just boop boop, you know, change what you want to change. What would you do to heal our industry?
If I had a magic wand,
Mm-hmm.
if I had a magic
Like three things you'd
wand,
go boom boom
yeah,
boom,
yeah.
done done done.
Um, I would have The Rock and Jason Momoa meet up, like Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, and just bro shake hands and say we're gonna put all these millions of dollars into our Hawaii film industry and create that ecosystem that we talked about by funding local films, local TV shows, and maybe creating our own network and, you know, making the money that stays here supported by local people who care about the culture and have been working in this industry for a long time. That's like total magic, like best wish, fantasy scenarios. But yeah, that's kind of
Why don't they work together?
I don't know. They got their own things going on. I'm sure there's a lot of but it's hard to put it on certain people to come to the
Of
rescue,
course, yeah.
right? And a lot of people assume that like, oh, how come the Rock? He's so rich. How come
Yeah.
he just no come down here? There's a lot involved. You know what I
And
mean?
it's hard, like, like they're creatives, you know, where people, once you start making it, they're like, well, come and help us now. But they're also maybe just like living their dreams of
Yeah,
being creative and like coming from a small place. Like, yeah, you do want to go do international movies and all these things and like fulfill your dreams. Like, I get it. You know,
yeah,
they're just people at the end of the day. Like, no one's meant to be anybody else's savior.
yeah,
Helping is another thing, but
yeah.
you know, I get that.
And even that could be part of their plan that they got to work up until a certain level
Mm-hmm.
to make the calls,
Yeah.
And I think those two guys is kind of
Yeah.
very close,
Well, you know,
you know.
I don't know if I can say this. I feel like it'd be fine to share. But I was working on Chief of War as like head writer, executive producers,
Mm-hmm.
assistant, director's assistant, all that, but mainly with Pa Sibbett,
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Sibbett. And he wrote that show with Jason, and they'd had it for a while. And they wanted to make it. And I remember Pa telling me, we wanted to do it for a while, but Jason looked at me and he said, "Bro, I'm not big enough to advocate and get people to give us money to do this the way we want to do it." So everybody is so mad at Jason for all of these different decisions and taking it to New Zealand, but like this has been something that he's been waiting on for so long, and did want to have the um like credibility, but also like the fame, I guess, to be able to use his name to advocate for how he wanted to do this. So on the back end, I saw like there was a lot of work and waiting,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's such a big part. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't just like, ha ha ha, I'm gonna do this in New Zealand,
Oh, that's everything in our industry. It takes years to plan,
Mm-hmm.
from the writing to pre-production, like all these things have to fall in line,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's what is so big on our tax incentives is the tax incentives allow projects to know that we're going to be stable here in the structure of business.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that, right? Like all the way down to we didn't even pay the tax incentives to NCIS until years later.
Mm-hmm.
Like our state didn't pay the incentives back. So
Mm-hmm.
investors are waiting for their money like
Right.
what's up with the refund? And studios have to be like, oh, we're waiting on the state to.
Yeah.
So now nobody wants to do business here, or they're sketched out about it. Things are changing. The governor got involved. He released those funds immediately. So we're seeing a lot of support. I think the biggest thing that people can know right now is that Hawaii is open for business. Our tax credit, we didn't lose our tax credit.
Mm-hmm.
We just didn't get the 5% bump that we were fighting for. But the tax credit is still at 22%.
Mm-hmm.
And we still have a lot left in our cap this year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like we don't have anything. We just need projects to know that. We
Mm-hmm.
need other studios to know that, hey, we're still open for business,
Mm-hmm.
and we still have an industry here made of great expert workers, and we still have studios available.
Mm-hmm. We're open and ready. Yeah.
We're ready.
Not closed.
Yeah.
We're ready. Do you have well, one, where can people find your podcast?
So right now I'm just posting it on YouTube, and then I do some things on Instagram, but I'm hoping to put it other places. I might have to get somebody professionally to do that. It's super grassroots. Like everything is done free. I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing everything by myself while raising my two daughters.
Killing it.
So yeah, it comes as it comes, but I try to stay active. And on the Instagram side of things, I just try to share local stories, local filmmakers, everything
Mm-hmm.
that they're doing, because we got so much talent.
Yeah.
We got so much talent in every aspect: commercials, acting, film, television, theater, everything, entertainment wise. So I just want to put all the resources out there. If anybody is interested in one particular thing,
Mm-hmm.
they know who to contact
Yeah.
and things like that.
Who's like your dream guest on your podcast?
My dream guest?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't really have a
Like
dream.
if you could record like tomorrow
If
with
I
this
could
person.
retort, I don't know. I just I work with a lot of celebrities, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like
Yeah.
crave anybody too famous
Mm-hmm.
on my podcast. If I had my way, I would have my boy Justin Fisher, Chris Putt, Danny Anderson, Zach Hanneman on my podcast.
I love
just
it.
just some of my boys, and,
Mm-hmm.
just talking story. That's my dream. That would be my dream.
I love it.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah, I get what you mean. Like famous people, it's not that, but like you have a
Yeah.
mission and a goal, and when you create something,
Yeah.
like you want to have people that can contribute to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard because I just on my podcast want to have real people that work in the industry,
Mm-hmm.
and their opinions, and their views. So that's hard. It's not really any one particular person.
Mm-hmm.
It's everyone.
Mm-mm-mm.
So yeah.
Super cool.
You want to be on my podcast?
What would I talk about? I've
Yeah.
worked 2 jobs.
Oh, that's what I asked when you had me on here. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna talk about.
But look, we talked plenty about a lot of
We
things.
did. I gotta pick up my kids at Kid City.
I know. Okay, let's be done.
No, we're good.
Final thing is well, actually, no, I feel like I just want to say thank you for coming on
Yeah.
and being so vulnerable and open. Thank you for dedicating your free time
Yeah.
as a busy dad and soon to be new husband.
Yes.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
For just trying to better our industry,
Yeah.
something that I love so much, and it encourages me to see like this resurgence, and was just excited for how your podcast is going to grow, how everything's going to change, the alliance, like all these things are just super, super awesome. Do you have anything else that you feel like you wanted to share that we didn't really get to?
Yeah, I just honestly wanted to say that everything from my whole career to where I am today is such a blessing, and it's like only truly by the grace of God that like I get all these opportunities, and it's just it hasn't all been easy. It's actually I've had a really personal some rough times, and but God has never failed me,
Amen.
and I try to just share the grace that God has on me to other people, and that's all I can really do. And yeah, I try to be that light in an industry that can be dark, and I hope that light spreads, and that's what I'm kind of what I try to do. And sitting here with you, I know that's part of God's plan. So I appreciate you having me on, and I love what you're doing, and I'm excited to see who you have on in the future and how we can maybe push our industry forward together.
So awesome. I kind of want to have Linda Lingo on.
Linda Lingo.
I know, right? She just like was a household name. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what she's doing now.
I guess I would want to have The Rock on.
Yeah. There you go.
Like who wouldn't want to have The Rock on?
Right.
I guess maybe that was such an obvious answer. I didn't want to say it,
Mm-hmm.
but The Rock, if you hear me,
Yeah.
come on my podcast.
I love that.
Brother.
Or Cliff Curtis.
Cliff Curtis. Okay.
Hammer.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like The Rock, Jason Momoa,
Yeah.
like you want to.
Yeah.
But I'm like so like random curious. Like I want to know, Cliff Curtis is really known to say a lot that he's always a supporting actor. And he's got these small little roles in the film.
Yeah.
And it's true if you look at his like his resume, but he's like the most well-known actor like ever, right?
Yeah.
He's so incredible and so talented, and what a gifted, amazing actor.
What's your favorite movie?
Oh my
Real
gosh.
quick.
Favorite movie.
Because this ties into someone I would want to have on my podcast, but doesn't fit the genre of my podcast. It's Jim Carrey.
Oh, yes.
Yes, because he's like my favorite. Like Dumb and Dumber is my favorite movie.
No way.
Sorry.
That's hilarious. No, I mean, I love that. I mean, I lean comedy too, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I told you how I wanted to like work with comics.
Yeah.
So like my real dream, like people, is also comics. Like, my favorite podcast right now is Bad Friends with Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, Bobby Lee.
And I just went and saw Bobby Lee's show, and I got to meet him, and it was sick. And I was like, I have a podcast. He was like, sick. And I was like, Bobby Lee knows I have a podcast.
Yeah, I love Andrew Schultz.
Oh yeah. He's
and
hilarious.
So he's actually a good friend of my classmate Bobby Webster, the GM of the Toronto Raptors, and so he got us tickets to the Andrew Schultz show. Sick. And we went backstage and met with him. Super cool guy. His stand-up is. Did you go?
No.
Oh, bro,
is it really good? I've
good.
seen his stuff on TV, but not like
it's
in
very
person.
clever. It's actually like a lot of people is crying. Like it's very heartfelt. Yeah, but then he's super raw, and Andrew Schultz is a great comedian. But yeah, Dumb and Dumber, Forrest Gump, those are like my two favorite movies.
I love that.
What about you?
Man, I don't. That's such a hard question because I feel like I don't like good movies that people would approve of. Like I love a rom-com.
Everybody loves rom-com,
right?
Yeah.
Why can't I think of one? Wait, I will find it.
Yeah. Come on, you gotta have a go-to favorite movie. Don't be ashamed, just say it.
I know. Well, what's the last time I even watched a movie? I used to watch Elf like every Christmas with my mom, and
Mm-hmm.
so I just love that movie.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, but I don't
Yeah.
watch it often.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that's the thing about movies. You know, they have sentiment to it,
Mm,
you know. I think Dumb and Dumber was like my childhood best friend,
mm.
Aina Ribuka. Um, we used to just love watching Dumb and Dumber. Like I remember watching it in the theater and just like couldn't breathe at Pro Ridge
Mm-mm-mm. Yeah.
after eating Cinnabon,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know.
Oh my gosh. See, I think that I like TV more
Oh, okay.
because it gets me like really on my seat.
Yeah.
Like I think that like the tension of what will happen next and you
Yeah.
have to wait
Oh,
created this like Stockholm syndrome like obsession where I'm like I need to tune in. Um
I cannot wait anymore. Like
oh yeah,
I
yeah.
have to only watch shows that are like 2 seasons in.
Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, I get it. I get it. But just like sitting down and even like the romance of every Tuesday, that's my
Yeah.
show's on. Like I'm
Yeah.
not making plans Tuesday. I'm going
Yeah.
home and
Yeah.
like it's just like it's ritualistic for me too, you know? Where I never really had that with movies.
Yeah.
Which is still so special, but I
Yeah.
definitely like prefer TV
Yeah.
sometimes.
The last time I had that excitement about a weekly show, this is embarrassing, it was Jersey Shore.
No way.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
wait, and then next final question, really. What is either a TV show or movie that you wish you could watch again for the first time?
Oh. Ah, that's a good question. Um, maybe Breaking Bad.
Mm.
I really like and it's weird, right? It's like I look like I'll try to watch something now that I super loved years ago, and it's just different because like you grow as a person, your perspectives change, quality of
Yeah, yeah.
movies and shows change. So I'm like, how was I into this? You
Hmm.
know? So but Breaking Bad was pretty cool, like just to see a transformation of a certain character to
Yeah.
what they end up as.
Hmm.
I love that and how it was slowly revealed over time. I wish I could have that feeling again,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
watching it for the first time. So,
Yeah, I love that.
and what are you watching now?
What am I watching now? So good. Um, I mean, such a good question. Not so good. I feel like I'm not watching anything. I've just been watching Bob's Burgers.
Bob's
Yeah,
Burgers.
it's
Is
an
that
animated
YouTube?
show. No, it's on
Oh,
Hulu,
oh, okay.
which I don't like adult animation, but
Uh-huh.
there's something about Bob's Burgers that's it's quick and
What is it about?
it's like a family, they own a burger joint
Oh, okay.
and it's just like the kids are like really like they're not raunchy, but they're quick.
Yeah.
And like it's just kind of like a feel good funny,
Yeah.
a funny haha. But show I really love that I go back to and I wish I could see again is Westworld.
Oh, yes, Westworld.
I really love like
I love
futuristic stuff like
me
that.
too. You know, I didn't realize like that's my genre, sci-fi thriller.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, my brother, he was really into that genre growing up, and I was like, "You're weird." And then now I'm like, "Oh shit, I think like Black Mirror. Do you watch
Ooh,
Black
yeah, yeah,
Mirror?
yeah.
I
Gnarly.
love that.
That one's almost a little too up my spine. Like I'm
It
scared.
is it's off, but it's so true. Like when you look at it, how it's sick, but
Yeah.
that's kind of society is sick.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's true.
So
That's why I love the new Marvel movies, like all the
yeah.
tech stuff that really like
Mm.
excites me. And
Hmm.
Transformers,
Oh
that
yeah.
okay, Transformers is like probably I would say my favorite movie.
Really?
Yeah, because and I'm gauging it on the fact that I could watch that
Transformers.
any moment in time, like if I had
Yeah.
free time and someone's
Yeah.
like want to watch a movie, I'd say, yeah, I could watch Transformers.
Exactly.
I could just watch it again and again and
Yeah.
again. It's like interesting to
That's
me.
how I feel about Dumb and Dumber. Like it's just something I can put on at any time,
Hmm.
any part of the movie,
Yeah, you're like,
and I'm
ah,
good. Same with Forrest Gump.
I love it.
Jenny.
So final thing we do here in the podcast
Uh-huh.
is like I'm gonna have you look in camera
Okay.
and you're gonna say, I'm Brian Wallace. And
Oh.
between you and me, and then something that you want to say. So kind of to the audience, like just between you and me, something.
Oh, you putting me on the spot.
Like last time when I did my solo episode, I said, between you and me, Portuguese people are the best people on the planet.
Oh, okay.
So it could be funny, it could be serious, it could be AO to
Revealing.
yeah, it could be revealing, it could be like encouraging to film people, whatever you want.
Dang. now I'm on the spot, so it's hard for me to think between.
Yeah, take your time. Take your time.
I know. Uh,
Your teeth are really white too.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Do you have braces?
I did have Invisalign at one point. Yeah.
Wow.
Um. Wait. Give me a genre. Like, what should I?
Well, I
Between
think
or
your favorite movie being Dumb and Dumber, you're obviously like chill and fun local guy, you know.
yeah.
But then also we were talking about more serious stuff in like film
Mm,
industry, and you're definitely a voice there.
yeah.
So you could go a route of like fun and intriguing because this part will
Yeah.
be in the trailer, or you could
Mm,
go a route of like encouraging, like clip that'll be on the internet that tells
yeah.
people to come to Hawaii and shoot their stuff, or to the
Yeah.
next generation, or it could be just like your thoughts on stuff,
Yeah.
like something
Okay.
that you're like between you and me.
Yeah.
This is what I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so position yourself. You're
Okay.
gonna look right here at this camera,
Okay.
and then
Okay.
you'll just go.
All right. Oh wait, do I say my name?
So you'll say the whole bit.
How do I say
Hi,
it?
I'm Brian Wallace, and between you and me.
Okay. Hi, I'm Brian Wallace, and between you and me, the Hawaii film industry is coming up. A lot of hopeful things happening. Get ready. How's that?
That was baller, 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 baller.
Really?
Yeah, B for
Should I
baller
do
is what
it
your hat.
again?
No, that was
Okay.
one and done.
Yeah.
Perfect. Congratulations! Thanks for making it to the end of the podcast. Thanks for tuning in. And as a special reward just for you, I'm doing a little giveaway. So if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, take a screenshot and email it, which we'll put right on the screen, star@bymepod.com, you enter to win a fabulous giveaway worth more than $500. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's going to be exciting, and it can be curated for a boy or a girl or anybody in between, how you identify. So, like, comment, subscribe, email me the screenshot that you subscribed, and you may just win something very exciting. Mahalo.